Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you're having a fantastic day to this point. This video is going to kick off a new series focused on the greatest movie scenes of all time. Analyzing an entire film is a worthy task, which I've done before, but I think there's some individual scenes that warrant special attention, and that's what I'm going to do in this series. I also might dig into some TV scenes as well, because there are, of course, some incredible scenes to be found on the small screen. I decided to begin this new series with what I think is one of the best scenes from Peter Jackson's masterpiece Fellowship of the Ring. There is an immense amount of wisdom in this scene. The acting is astounding. The score is beautiful. There's so much going on here, and I'm excited to talk about it. So I'm going to play the clip and stop at a few different points to comment on what we just saw. I hope this format is effective, but if you have any ideas on how I could improve it, please let me know in the comment section. Now, without further ado, let's journey into the Mines of Moria.
It's Gollum.
Gollum?
He's been following us for 3 days.
He escaped the dungeons of Barad-dûr.
Escaped. Or was set loose. And now the ring has drawn him here. He will never be rid of his need for it. He hates and loves the ring. As he hates and loves himself.
The first thing I love about this scene is the contrasted urgency of Frodo and Gandalf. Frodo is a hobbit who's on his first adventure. Gandalf is an extremely powerful being who's traveled all throughout Middle-earth. So when Frodo sees this creature making its way up the rocks, he understandably freaks out, but Gandalf just sits there, smokes his pipe. Ian McKellen does a masterful job capturing Gandalf's feelings about Gollum by just the pitch of his voice. When he says he's been following us for 3 days, you can already hear the pity in his voice. He knows Gollum isn't a threat with the likes of himself and Aragorn around. The Mines of Moria is an extremely dangerous place, and the fact that Gollum would enter just to be around the ring is a testament to how viciously the ring is torturing him. Gandalf understands this anguish, Frodo does not. The final line in this segment is also pretty astounding. He hates and loves the ring as he hates and loves himself. There is no shortage of people out there who feel the way Gollum feels. Gollum, or Smeagol as he was known at the time he first acquired the ring by murdering his friend. And Gollum always lies about that fact. He hates himself for killing his friend, Deagol, but he also loves himself and loves the prideful feeling that the ring grants him. And Andy Serkis does an incredible job portraying this conflict. Everyone has made mistakes, and when you go back and think about them, you just can't help but cringe. And if you think too much about these mistakes and don't forgive yourself for them, you're going to develop some form of self-hatred. And that self-hatred will inevitably come into conflict with the natural human instinct of self-preservation. And I think Tolkien wanted to warn his readers of this battle through the character of Gollum.
Smeagol's life is a sad story. Yes, Smeagol, he was once called, before the ring found him. Before it drove him mad.
It's a pity Bilbo didn't kill him when he had the chance.
Pity? It was pity that stayed Bilbo's hand. Many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them, Frodo? Do not be too eager to deal out death and judgment. Even the very wise cannot see all ends.
The wisdom that Gandalf gives here to Frodo is straight from the Gospel of Matthew, which was of course a massive influence on Tolkien. Judge not, lest ye be judged. And that is a vital lesson which has been mostly forgotten in today's world, I would say. Gollum at this point in the story is looking for nothing but trouble. He's nothing more than a pest that the Fellowship always has to keep swatting away. Frodo takes the position of most people in this situation. Gollum is nothing but trouble. I wish Bilbo would have taken this burden off of us long ago, because we've got enough problems to worry about. The comment comes from a place of annoyance and hatred. Gandalf takes a different angle. He knows that Gollum is trouble, but he pities the degradation of his soul, which has caused him to become trouble. Gollum has been tortured by the ring for over 400 years. It's easy to take a look at someone and hate what they are. It's much more difficult to look at someone and pity how they became what they are. and I think Gandalf's approach would probably breed a much more humane society.
My heart tells me that Gollum has some part to play yet, for good or ill, before this is over. The pity of Bilbo may rule the fate of men.
This final observation by Gandalf is also very important. Hatred only breeds hatred. Pity and compassion has the potential to change the script. It's not guaranteed. But when Frodo takes pity on Gollum later in the story, the Smeagol side of him takes charge for a while and helps Frodo and Sam make it to Mordor. If Frodo were to undo Bilbo's act of pity by killing Gollum with Sting, the ring never falls into Mount Doom.
I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened.
So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
Now this part of the scene is probably my favorite. The score takes a turn and it really is beautiful, but the dialogue is something everybody needs to hear at some point. It harkens back to Hamlet a little bit. Everyone will encounter the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. You can't avoid them. Even the most seemingly privileged people can't avoid them. President Kennedy, for example, from the outside, the American people saw his life as almost a dream. He was a prince from a rich family who became the youngest elected president in United States history. In truth, Jack Kennedy did not avoid the arrows of outrageous fortune. He spent months on end in a hospital bed. When his friends were off having adventures, he was too sick to even walk. Despite this medical handicap, JFK dreamed of becoming a political leader, so when he was sick in bed, he'd have his dad's friends roll in carts of books so he could properly educate himself in anticipation of public service. This is what Gandalf is talking about. We are not in control of many things that happen to us. All we can do is choose what to do in response. Some people throw up their hands and just give up. Frodo does not.
Other forces at work in this world, Frodo, besides the will of evil. Bilbo was meant to find the ring, in which case you also were meant to have it. And that is an encouraging thought.
What I love about the ending of Gandalf's monologue is the hopefulness. Yes, bad things will happen in life, but you aren't alone in this battle. For every Balrog, there is a Gandalf. For every Denethor, there is an Aragorn. There is sometimes a temptation to believe this isn't the truth. Sometimes it can feel like the forces of chaos greatly outweigh the forces of order, but Gandalf tries to steer Frodo away from that line of thinking. And Gandalf also points out there is an optimism to be found in seemingly terrible circumstances. The ring didn't fall into evil hands. It fell into the hands of Bilbo, which in turn brought it to Frodo. This is actually a great stroke of luck. Yes, Frodo has a massive burden to bear, but at least there's a chance of goodness prevailing. If the ring was found by an ally of Sauron, Middle-earth would already be in flames. So sometimes you don't know what terrible luck your bad luck saved you from. The final look on Gandalf's face at the end of the scene is a masterstroke by McKellen. He really is the grandfather that everybody needs, and you don't see it as much in the films, but when Gandalf falls in Moria, the Fellowship falls into a depressed state, and it takes Galadriel to lighten them up a bit. Aragorn is a good leader, as good as a man could possibly be, but he doesn't have Gandalf's deep wisdom that echoes in Frodo's mind throughout the rest of his journey. If you enjoyed this scene analysis and want to see more, remember to leave a like and subscribe. And if you haven't read Tolkien's trilogy, I would highly recommend it. They really are an escape into a different world. Thank you so much for stopping by once again. Have a great rest of your day, and hopefully I will talk to you soon. Have a good one.